There's a possibility during my death stretch when David was being inserted, there's a possibility that this David Caldoun walked into me.
Mm-hmm.
You know about walk-ins.
Well, we have a couple of people that we've interviewed on the CD who all say they're walk-ins.
Yeah, and it's a possibility when he walked in, but because of the super conditions of the mind, he got trapped and can't do anything.
Well, it's always been, Larry, that when they walked in, though, the other guy walked out.
Yeah, but see, my mind had been drained. It was down on a computer.
Okay, let's go to that. You're saying there was a certain process which was done to you.
They downloaded my entire mind onto a computer.
Onto a computer.
Then they stopped my heart. Then
Okay.
with the probes had already been inserted, one in the back of my neck, one in the middle of my back, and one at the lower back.
So were you in a hospital type of thing, or?
From what I can tell, it was far from a hospital.
Okay.
I mean, they didn't rely too much on cleanliness.
What did it look like physically inside?
Truthfully?
Yeah.
An old damn warehouse.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Was
especially where the tanks were.
Was it above or below ground?
Yeah, well, from what I can recall and seeing my soul hover above with all the rest of them, it looked like just a big old dirty empty warehouse. Because of the framework above and the skylights and everything else.
And it wasn't surrounded by a chain link fence or anything?
I have no idea what was outside.
Wow. So here you are, you're in a warehouse.
Once the mind was emptied, once the probes were inserted, and in fact, they just had me laying there on a gurney. There was two guys there, and I know I wrote all this down somewhere, and I was looking for it before you called, and I can't find it, because names also come to me. But I wrote this down about these two guys standing there. One's a newbie, as I call him, and the other guy's training him. And my body is going into horrible convulsions and everything else once they start the computer and inserting the entity. And the guy's scared, and he says, what's going to happen to him? And he says, well, most of them just die, and that's the end of it, no big deal. But something happened with the body contortions and everything else, and you're making real weird guttural sounds and everything else. I'm not aware of it. Somehow I know what's going on, which it's kind of double talk, I know. But something happens, and he says, well, this one's going to make it. I guess he's going to be okay. And after the process of uploading the entity into my mind, they then wheel the cart into another room, which is probably a little cleaner, where all the tanks are, and set the body in the tank of some kind of liquid. It's not water, runny like water. It's some kind of a liquid, and with all these probes and attachments and everything onto the body. And it lays in this water for 3 months.
Are you totally immersed?
Yeah. This is the birthing process.
How do you breathe?
You don't have to.
It's sort of like you're in the
you're not breathing.
The womb.
Your heart's still not beating in a sense. You're being reborn. You're being born. It's like the womb.
Yeah.
And again, that's when the soul is floating around all above. It's confused. It doesn't understand. It knows it should not be out of the body. My soul.
The Larry soul.
Right. And it's encased in pure gold.
Oh, really?
All the souls are encased in pure gold.
The soul is encased in pure gold.
Yeah.
I mean, so they took your soul out of your body?
No, they can't touch the soul. I want to make that perfectly clear since you brought it up.
Okay.
They would love to be able to figure out a way to take the soul out of a human being. And as far as everything I was involved in, they could never do that. They could never touch the soul, and that would make them so angry because they wanted that so bad. Now, maybe by now they have found a way. I do not know. But everything I was involved in, that was their main goal, because if they knew they could get your soul, then they had you 100%.
Wow. Now you're saying, though, the soul was encased in a gold case.
Yeah.
So, where was this gold case physically?
It was floating up around the ceiling.
The gold case was floating?
The soul.
Right, but where was the gold case?
The soul was within this gold ring. It was encased within it.
Was that a physical thing?
To me, it was. I could see it clearly. I could see them all, and even right now, I can see them all floating around up there.
Even right now?
Yeah.
Just in your mind's eye?
Yeah, I can see them.
So
beautiful. You cannot imagine the beauty of them, how they look.
Of a soul?
Yeah. It's perfect.
It's perfect, but you couldn't go anywhere.
No, because they knew they should not have been out of that body.
Right.
So they were confused. They couldn't leave. So you weren't totally physically dead to the point where your soul should have gone on to the next world.
Still connected.
Yeah.
And so you recall, from your soul's perspective, kind of seeing what was going on during these 3 months?
Both ways. I see it through the soul, and I see it through my own mind. Figure that out. I can't. I do not understand it. Everything is like I'm standing off to the side watching. You know, disconnected. I guess maybe that's how you protect yourself.
Sort of watching a movie, in a sense.
Yeah.
And
the more you watch, the more you're fascinated.
Yeah, and would you say you sort of lose your perspective of time at that point? Does time go away?
There's no recollection of time whatsoever.
You're just in the now, the present.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. So here you are. You're birthing for 3 months.
Well, David is.
David is birthing. You're still up there. And let's go back. David, was he generated by a computer?
He was created on a computer by a master programmer. I know what the man looks like and everything. In fact, David killed him later.
David killed his maker?
Yep. That's another story.
That's an interesting story, I'm sure.
Yeah. There were things this programmer put in David that he personally, secretly, was experimenting with. And David was able to evolve much, much quicker than normal.
But was David a soul at that point?
No, David does not have a soul. David is just a created being. An entity.
Is he a spirit, though?
He cannot survive out of a human body. Not even a spirit. I wouldn't even call him a spirit.
What is he?
He was created from my DNA structure on a computer. Don't tell me how they do it. I have no idea. But the man programmed into him what he wanted. It was all supposed to be cut and dried a certain way. But he secretly did different things with each one to experiment to see how they would evolve. He was the only one that knew it.
Okay, now I know you don't know this answer, but let's speculate. How many of these types of people do you think there are out there?
Thousands.
Maybe even beyond that?
Yeah, even in this one area where I was, there was hundreds of these tanks.
There were hundreds of tanks?
Yeah.
Were they, again, all in the warehouse or below ground?
In this area. Same room as one huge, gigantic room.
Wow.
They kept me in these tanks for days. Drugged up, wired up, heart slowed. They try to prise my soul from my body. It was the strangest shit, I can tell you.
So once the birthing took place at the end of the 3 months, the body was removed and basically brought to life just like you would anyone. I mean, they didn't spank him on the butt or anything like that, but they kind of, it seems like it's almost like performing CPR. No, that's not right. I better not say because I don't have total recall on how they got him to start breathing.
Okay.
And from that point on, once he was born, he then was taken to school to learn.
So when did Larry's soul or your soul?
I'm not sure. Well, as soon as the body started breathing, that's when the soul went back into it.
Okay.
Now, when they re-uploaded my mind back in, I don't know. All I know is that it was done. And the mind has to be totally empty for them to insert the entity. Otherwise, there can be a crossover between the two, and they'll get them all mixed up, and that's what they do not want. They want to keep us totally separate.
So there seems to be a difference between the mind and the soul, and
oh, definitely, definitely.
Does the soul encompass the mind?
The soul is separate by itself.
By its own self.